Hello, and welcome back to probably, it definitely should be the final part of this fanfiction reading of Behind the Scenes by, GajeelsPocketWoman. Fuck's sake. Anyways, so we're in the chapter Levy's Incredible. I'm sure. We're just gonna get right into it. Yeah, I'm really liking this story. Somehow it ends relatively quickly, but you have to remember that sometimes you just don't want to put things in between parts of the story that Gajo's actually in. But can't expect everybody. You can't expect somebody to be super good at this. Anyways, we're gonna stop. All right. What are you thinking, Loxus? Are you? Oh. I think I might as well do the recap part. What are you thinking, Loxus? Are you trying to drag innocent civilians into this? The geezer was screaming at the sky, but stopped suddenly, grasping the coat over his heart. Urgh. He grunted as he fell to the ground. Gramps! Mir took off to grab the master's medicine as the other girls crowded around him, trying to revive the old man. Flamer was still trying to get answers from the unconscious senior citizen. What is the Thunder Palace? Gramps! It's terrible, everyone, look outside, Mira Jane yelled as she sprinted back into the room. The girls in the hothead sprinted out onto a balcony, and I walked out behind them. The cowgirl was whipping out her sniper rifle and aiming at some lacrima that were floating in the sky. She shot one, and the lightning-branded orb exploded. Everyone was cheering for her when her face suddenly contorted and she started screaming. Electricity was arcing all over her body, and she collapsed, writhing on the ground. Body link magic? The boozer yelled. I gotta admit, for a drunk, she seems to know a lot. Those things are spelled so that any damage done to it links back to the attacker. At this rate, everyone in the town will. We've got to take out Loxus himself. It's the only choice left. Try to evacuate the townspeople. Most of the women ran back inside, then out of the hall. Bookworm stayed crouched down by her wounded friend. What the hell was that asshole thinking? Salamander was angry. He almost looked as mad as he'd been when he and I had fought before. He jumped over the balcony railing, sliding down the roof until he hit the enchantment. He started slamming his fists, his feet, and even his head into the wall. If you really want to be master that bad, fight the old man yourself. Give up already, Loxus. Natsu, stop. Calm down. Shrimp is yelling at the idiot on the roof. Like hell I will, a Blunet grinned. It's an enchantment. I crossed my arms over my chest. Thank you, Captain Obvious. I thought you were the smart one, I remarked. She ignored me, looking confident as she said. It's a form of written magic. I might be able to do something about it. Oh, way to be an ass, Gajiel. Seriously, Levy? Let's hop back onto the balcony with us. I have faith that the two of us will be able to stop Loxus. She smiled at us both, surprising me. I have faith that the two of you will be able to stop Loxus. I didn't smell any of the usual fear on her. Having something to do seemed to have distracted her from it. We followed her back inside. Within minutes, she had books scattered across the floor. Flame Brain went back to pounding on the invisible wall. I squatted next to the tiny woman to watch her work. She was down on her hands and knees, her hair pulled into a sloppy ponytail. I was trying, really, not to stare at her ass. She ended up in the air as she balanced on her elbows so she could turn pages and take notes. She was muttering breakdown, basic character material, identify. Her voice was getting louder. LOSU. Now, if we map those to basic Guile grammar. For how you actually say his name. How do you actually say it? Is it actually Guile? I think it actually Guile. I moved my gaze to her face. You're incredible, you know that? We speak the same language, but I can't understand a word you're saying. No! I jumped as she whipped around and pointed a finger at me. The L and S are a bluff. The code is ALS. She was so intense. Right, I see, I said. I didn't want to interrupt her train of thought. Don't worry, I'll have you guys out of here in no time, she said as she turned back to taking notes. She tucked some of her hair that had fallen back behind her ear. Damn, she's cute like that. I shook my head and looked away to clear his thoughts. Not like I really care. Please, you have to stop Loxus. I looked back and to find her staring at me. Her eyes are so focused, so intense. There. I found myself nodding, agreeing to what she had asked me. I decided in the moment she was purely a good person, and I resolved to never let her be hurt again, especially not because of me. Salamander gave me an excuse to look away as he started pounding even harder on the boundary. There were more fights popping up, and his blonde girl was one of them. You kidding me? That bunny girl could actually fight? I yelled, jumping up as I saw her fight's result. Sure, Lucy's pretty strong, that idiot mumbled. I could tell he was proud and frustrated wasn't going to fight. No way, I mean, she's a freaking bunny. She showed up in the guild hall in a bunny suit the other day, and I decided that she'd be one of the things I called her instead of bothering to learn her name. That's Luchan for you, and I've got to do my best as well, I heard exclaim from behind me. She had a determined grin on her face. She bent back down over the books. Bunnies are strong, you know, Nazi yelled at me. That's one I haven't heard before, I replied. Heard the shrimp mumbling about her translations of the flame brain, and I argued. Have you heard the story of the tortoise and the hare? Sure, and the hare lost, remember? Idiot. Yeah, the first time they had hundreds of What? They had hundreds of rematches, and the hare won all of them. I rolled my eyes. This is going to be the hardest part. My ears tuned to her voice now, without me even trying, so it shocked me a little when she yelled, "That's it! I just have to decipher the two grammars at different rates. If I go through the text corresponding, then concert that into... I've done it!" She leapt up with a stack of papers in hand. I watched her hips sway back and forth as she walked towards the doorway holding the invisible wall. Here's way here, overwrite the enchantment. Are you ready? It's time for you to take part in the Battle of Fairy Tale. I grinned and started stretching my arms out. I felt the heat next to me as Salamander's arms caught fire. Hell yeah, he yelled. It's time to go have a little fun. Ivan. Listen, we can't chance you guys seeing or getting trapped by freeze enchantments and having to fight each other, so make sure you split up as soon as you leave. Like I'd stick near that flame brain idiot. I've got a score to settle with him, too. This lightning asshole's really been pushing my buttons lately. It's alright with you, master. I looked over my shoulder where a paper doll was sitting. The creepy thing had shown up as I climbed into a tree near the guild hall. I had pushed iron spikes out of my feet into the branch so I was balanced and could focus on town for sounds that might tell me where Lox is. I knew what the doll was. This wasn't the first time Ivan had sent one to talk to me. I only spoken to him in person once. Makarov had just left from telling me I should join Fairy Tale, and this guy showed up. I'd initially thought the geezer was coming back. Their scents were so similar. What do you want now? I snarled as I whipped back around. Only it wasn't a midget old man. This guy was as tall as me and smelled off like the guys at Phantom had. Now, no need to be testy. I just want to give you a counter offer. I'm listening. He smirked at me, convinced already that he'd get what he wanted from me. Join Fairy Tale like my father offered, but report to me anything you can learn. Father, huh? That explains the sense, at least. What's in it for me? I asked. He chuckled darkly. Yeah, I definitely don't like this guy. He reminded me too much of Jose. And I'd only just gotten free from one. I'm prepared to pay you handsomely, boy. Just pass me information and follow any orders I give you. I bristled at that. The money wouldn't be bad. Yeah, fine, whatever. I crossed my arms over my chest, flexing my biceps in the process. Never know, maybe it'll scare him off. He chuckled again and reached inside his cloak. When he pulled his hand out, he held a paper doll. It was white with a few colorful circles and squares on his body. If you see one of these anywhere, you'll know I have instructions. Please take it and go somewhere private. Once you're alone, I'll know it and I'll give you your orders. I barely suppressed the growl that sprung up in my throat at that word. I don't take orders from anyone, pal. Not anymore. I just looked at him, but he seemed to take that as acceptance of his authority. Good, I'll deliver a monthly stipend of Jewel to wherever you end up living in Magnolia. I could take a few recommendations if you like. I did grow up there. I'll be fine. With that, I decided I was done sitting in this dump talking to the creep, so I pushed past him and walked out. The time I collected my meager belongings and made it to the Fairies Guild Hall, it'd been a day since the geezer came looking. Even so, he was sitting on a bench outside, waiting for me. I want you to honor whatever agreement you've made with my son. He started, catching me off guard. Don't try to deny it. I know he came to you. I saw him as I left, although he thinks he's too sneaky to be seen. Nevertheless, I want you to feed him information, but I want you to get some in return. I need to know where Ivan is. I need to be able to protect my other children. And I can't do that if I don't know what he's planning. I studied the old man for a moment and decided it felt better to trust him at his word than it had to even consider trusting his son Ivan. But I still am just nodding once rather than trying to put words in my agreement. That seemed to satisfy him because he jumped off the bench and headed towards the building. Come inside then. Don't expect a warm welcome. They'll leave you alone, but my children aren't going to like this. I came back to the present to hear Ivan say, gain their trust as a comrade. Don't draw attention to yourself. For a moment, play loyal. Delivering the fairy's punishment will come in due time, my boy. I sneered at the doll. I'm not your anything, fool. Roger that. Its mission complete. The little paper doll shredded itself, and the pieces blowing away in the wind. I felt a sudden urge of power, dark and amazingly strong. I whipped my head to the direction... I put my head in the direction it was coming from. I saw a figure fleeing into the sky, followed by a demon. The first creature had long, bright green hair, so I assumed it was freed. They were all the way on the other side of town, so I decided to leave it be. Can't smell anyone from here. This is pointless. As I prepared to jump out of the tree, I heard a massive explosion of shattering glass. Ah, there he is. Got what? Come on. Madman. I took off across town, heading for the big cathedral. I heard the townspeople muttering about the fighting going on, commenting about the lacrima hanging in the sky. Think there's some kind of fireworks? Normal people are so dense. I shoved a couple of drunken idiots on my way and kept running. Gotta hurry if I want to fight this bastard before the salamander. As I ran up the street towards the building, I saw Titania running out the front door. She didn't look like she was running from anything, but she was definitely in a hurry. She ran in the other direction, and I slowed my charge for a minute, considering following her. I heard fighting sounds from the cathedral and that decided me. I whipped around and headed inside, jumping up to climb in a window instead of the front door. I found myself on a balcony and crouched low to the ground. The sounds of battle from below were pretty intense. I snuck towards the edge of the railing and looked over. Damn it, he beat me here. I can't join in. He'll just start whining. I stayed there, crouched low, watching the two fight. At the moment, the pink-haired idiot was getting his ass handed to him, and he just kept getting up. You really are tough, I heard Salamander say as he pushed off the ground once again. Suddenly, a swell of power surged from Loxus. Natsu wasn't getting anywhere further than his hands and knees. Crap, my body isn't working anymore, he whined as he fell flat again. Move, idiot. I dropped over the edge of the balcony down to the ground floor, but neither of them saw me. Resounding through the air, a roar of thunder plunged from the heavens and reaped destruction. Blondie was standing with a fist raised, his power emanating from him immense. Ah, shit, he's gonna kill him. I heard the murderous growl in his voice as he yelled, Raging Bull! The electricity was so thick in the room you could almost taste it, and I couldn't see anymore. As the glare faded from my vision, I heard Loxus laughing maniacally. Natsu, who's the strongest man in the guild? Ha ha ha! Guess you can't answer because I've blown you to bits. I looked down at my fisted hand and grinned to myself. Were you meant to be Nakama, and now you're laughing about killing him? I said, watching the lightning idiot's head snap in my direction. The shock in his eyes was ironic. You really have lost it. Not that you actually did kill him or anything. That's my job. I raised my arm to show him the salamander. I had snatched him from where he'd lain mere seconds before lightning struck. I held the flame rain for another second and tossed him aside. Oh look, a new victim. Vanish, disappear. Anyone who dares stand against me shall be reduced to nothing. He was raving like a madman now. Natsu grunted and pushed himself up again. I'll handle Loxus. Just stay back, he told me. Obstinately? What? I have a personal grudge to settle with this loser. However, he's truly a monster. He is, after all, Makarov's flesh and blood. We may not like it, but there isn't really a point. I stopped and heaved a sigh before growling. We'll take him together. I wasn't looking at the pathetic mess on the floor next to me, but I could feel his disbelief and smell his anger. Screw that! I'm going to take him out by myself. Like hell you and I would team up. Like hell I would team up with someone like you. His screaming whine really hurt my ears. Look at him, idiot. Is that really the guy you know? We both looked at our opponent. His eyes had lost focus and he was laughing again, lightning crackling around him. This is an enemy of our guild. We have to stop him here and now. We have to protect the guild. There is no one else left. Do you have any idea what would happen if we don't stop him? I looked back at my shutter partner. He was pouting of all things. "You are protecting the guild?" he asked, looking at me in disbelief. Even though I knew it wasn't an unreasonable question, anger coursed through me. "Destroying it or protecting it, that's my own damn choice, alright? I thought you said there wasn't enough room in the sky for 2 dragons." I ground my teeth and looked down at him. He still hadn't stood back up. He had a smug grin on his face. "Maybe not, but with all this damn lightning, the sky ain't fit for flying." The flames began to lick his arms as he stood up. "This is a one-time thing, right?" he asked me. I grinned, balling my hands into fists. "You're damn right. I'm going to settle things with that one of these days. Now let's go." I rolled my arms as we charged towards our foe, prepared to give him the beatdown of a lifetime. Dragons. I never fought with a teammate before. Back in Phantom I had lackeys, but never anyone who I would fight alongside. And these damn fairies, well, we don't work together. On one hand, I could use Flame Rain as a distraction and attack from the other direction. On the other, Loxus knocked him into me a few times. One of the times we got knocked together, I got an idea. I put my arm in front of the Salamander's mouth as he let loose his roar. I used my momentum of the roar to power my fist in Loxus' face. I barely missed, and that is only because I hadn't been ready for the speed and force behind my punch, so it wasn't as precise as usual. "Iron Dragon Sword!" I yelled, shifting my metal studs in my arms into a sword coating my fist. At least I think. Maybe I'm actually changing my fist into a sword. Dad never fully explained that, and I couldn't tell what's under the metal once I cast the spell. I swung my sword at the lightning freak, but he was fast and jumped out of the way. Continuing momentum, I swung a foot at his head, changing it into an iron pillar. He blocked the hit, and I was still off balance shot, a powerful bolt at me. Couldn't get my feet back under me fast enough, and it hit me square in the chest. You think I'd have been a little used to that sting after our encounter yesterday? Had it only been a day, really? As I fell to the ground, Natsu popped up behind our opponent with a roar, exploding fire hitting him in the back. I pushed myself off the ground, getting my sword ready. I swung it into Loxus like a child playing ball and knocked him to the ground between my reluctant partner and myself. With a quick nod, we both inhaled, preparing our roars. "Fire dragons, iron dragons, roar!" we shouted in unison. His fire breath and the cyclone of metal that I shot out collided with Loxus, creating a blast that shook the building. Any windows that hadn't already shattered did so at that moment, and some stones broke loose from the ceiling and walls. We stood panting, feeling a little proud of ourselves, when my ears picked up a laugh in the midst of the rubble falling. "What the hell? That's all you can do? So then that's the power of a dragon slayer?" His pants were in tatters and his shirt completely burned off, but the blonde freak was otherwise unscathed. "Impossible!" I muttered. "What incredible power! How was he able to withstand our attacks?" He grinned widely as I actually saw his canines elongate. "The geezer always told me to keep this to myself, but I'm going to show you my secret art." I heard the salamander gasp. "Impossible! He's got to be bluffing." I exclaimed, but he wasn't. He started yelling, pulling even more power to himself. I saw scales form in his massive arms, and he drew in a great breath. "Lightning dragons? Is he about to do what I think?" "No, Loxus!" Natsu yelled at his former comrade. "Roar!" The blast was so huge that I couldn't block it. I couldn't even run or jump out of the way. This wasn't anything like the smaller bolts he hit me with yesterday, or even the massive bolt I pulled Pinky away from earlier. This was as wide as a cathedral, almost alive with power. It stole my breath and crushed us to the ground. God, I couldn't help but groan I couldn't help the groan that escaped me as I tried to get back up. I'm paralyzed. The electricity still jolting through my muscles kept me from controlling them properly. Still alive? I will end this. You two idiots, Urza, Mystigan, the old man, and even the fools of this town. I will exterminate you all. Wouldn't have thought it possible for him to gather more power to himself, but he did. Or maybe he just pulled back all the power he just discharged. I don't even know. Didn't feel quite the same, though. What is this power? I tried to turn my head so I could look my attacker in the face, Natsu murmured. This feeling. Cramps? Come to think of it, this spell was being collected and did feel like that old man. Wait, fairy law? This is a spell Makarov used to take out Jose in one hit. I knew it felt similar. Even though I had been several rooms away when it happened, there was no mistaking the feel of this magic. Don't, Loxus! The flame brain was growling with the effort to drag himself towards the madman in front of us. That attack targets everyone the user sees as an enemy. I pushed for all I was worth, trying to stand. Stop, Loxus! My heart stopped and plunged into my mouth. Why is she here? Levy, I could hear the surprise in Natsu's voice. You fool, what are you doing here? I growled at her. How am I supposed to keep her safe if she throws herself in harm's way? The master is your own grandfather. He's at death's door. As wind blew past her in the door, I could smell her grief. I thought I sensed a hiccup in the power of Lox's spell, too, but it didn't last long. So please, just stop this. Go see him while you still can. The sadness in her voice was pulling at me, but I couldn't take my eyes off the threats in front of me. Loxus seemed to be on the verge of dispersing the spell, and Natsu was muttering in disbelief. Gramps gonna die? Suddenly, Blondie resumed his stance and barked at a laugh. Well, that suits me just fine. Looks like my chances of being master just went up more. Why can't I get up? This is bullshit. No matter how I tried, my body wasn't cooperating. I couldn't stop his attack. I was blacked out from the effort, and when I could focus again, I heard, Fairy Law, activate! I buried my face in the arm I had in front of me as a brilliant light washed over me. Fairy Law. Oh, God. Okay. I was blind, completely blind, and my ears were ringing. My nose was telling me that Loxus was still standing where he'd been. Flamebrain was still on the ground next to me, and the tiny bookworm was still nearby. But I couldn't tell anything else. I didn't know whose fear or rage I was smelling. Hell, it could have been my own. It seemed like it'd been hours, but I finally heard the tick, clunk, thunk of falling debris and someone breathing. Ha! Ha! Blondie was panting. I've surpassed him. I pushed my head off my arm and coughed, clearing my lungs of dust. Have to see if that woman is okay. Light was still too bright in my eyes, though. No, it's not possible! He was angry for sure, but he sounded so tired I focused on my breathing for a minute, blinking to try to clear my eyes. I heard a cough behind me and felt myself lose a little bit of the tension in my shoulders. Why? Why are they not dead? Loxus raged as my vision finally cleared and pushed myself... as I pushed myself up enough to look over my shoulder. Are you okay? I asked, looking eyes with those intense, beautiful eyes, still coughing. I'm fine. What about Natsu? She pulled her eyes from mine and looked over at Pinky. I followed her gaze and found him starting to push himself up as well. He looks alright. What the hell is going on? How could anyone survive an attack of that magnitude? The rage in his voice pulled my attention back to the madman in front of me. My ears picked up the sound of shuffled steps in the doorway of the cathedral, and it made me uneasy. But I couldn't look away from the threat of attack from Loxus. The guild members, all of the townspeople are safe. Not a single person has been harmed. It took Freed a minute to get it all out, breathing as hard as he was. The she-devil must have thrashed him pretty good. I wonder why she left him alive. It's not possible. My fairy law was perfect. He actually sounded a little like a dragon was growling. Your power and your magical ability aren't the only thing you've inherited from the master. Also a heart that cares for its comrades. Now he wasn't walking anymore. The green-haired weirdo was starting to catch his breath. Fairy law only affects those whom the caster sees as an enemy. Do you understand what I'm saying, Loxus? Evidently the shrimp did, though I'm sure the asshole in front of me did too. He was still just too surprised to say anything. The magic penetrated the depths of his heart, she said with a small voice I might not even heard without my enhanced hearing. I glanced over at the salamander Steve on his hands and knees, head down, listening intently. You can't lie to your magic, Loxus. This is just how you truly feel. I still can't get up. This guy better not piss Blondie off enough that I have to fight him again. No! Loxus returned. Anyone who gets in my way is an enemy. They're all my enemies. Give it up, Loxus. Or give it up already, Loxus. Just go to the master. His buddy was persistent. I had to give him that. I don't care what the hell happens, that old fart. I am myself. I am not his grandson. I am Loxus. I'm Loxus. I tried to struggle to push myself up again, my muscles protesting. You think we don't know that? I froze, listening to how dark Salamander's voice was. Don't get all big-headed on us. So what if you're the old man's grandkid? See, you think that makes you special? Or so special? So different? He staggered to his feet. Don't you get so hung up on some stupid blood relation. How the hell does he have energy to yell? I can't even stand. The guild is the only family we need. And the punk bared his teeth in a growl that reminded me of Dad when he was angry with me. How could you understand? Was all Blondie could respond with. Do we have to understand to be your comrades? We reach our hands out. Oh, fuck's sake. Do we have to understand to be your comrades? We reach our hands out to one another to get past that. Salamander yelled as he charged the lightning idiot again. Flame was licking up his arms. I thought I heard Lox's yell, "Shut up!" as electricity charged fist messed with a flame-covered one flying at him. They exchanged several blows, yelling at each other as they did. I couldn't hear what they were saying over the roar of flame and the crackle of lightning, though. Natsu came flying back, twisting in midair to land in a crouch. He slid several feet before his feet got enough traction to launch himself back at his target. How the hell does he have energy? I wondered to myself again as he staggered upright for the 5th time. Just stop already, Natsu. You'll kill yourself, I heard the shrimp choke out warning. Little brat, I'll kill you so dead there'll be nothing left. Alexis bellowed as he held his hands over his head, clutching them one in front of the other as if he was preparing to throw a spear. Stop it, Loxus. If you use a spell like that on Natsu right now, I glanced over my shoulder at Freed, seeing fear in his face. He was friends with both of these idiots, and he probably knew what was coming and was an accurate guess as to what would happen. Somewhere I finally found the strength to push myself up to one knee. Are you actually trying to kill him? One last desperate plea for his friend before I heard, Thunder Dragon Heavenward! I felt a massive charge in the air and knew Freed was right. Natsu... fuck. Felt the massive charge in the air and knew that Freed was right. Natsu was going to die. No! The heartbroken wail that came from the tiny woman. Watching all this gave me a surge of energy. I would not let her watch her friend die. Bracing myself still on one knee, I covered my arm with iron and held it out to draw lightning to myself. This is going to hurt. All this happened in the split second after lightning was released, and then I was knocked back by the force of the impact. Gajiel? Hear the disbelief in Flame Brain's voice. I groaned as I collapsed again. Go! I was vaguely aware of him nodding, but I was fading out of consciousness. I don't know how much time passed, but it didn't feel like very long before I heard a scream come from the salamander. It was bestial and filled with raw emotion, but the strength of it told me we had ended it. I wouldn't have called it a win, though. With all the injuries and energy expended, it was simply over. Alright, Raventail. It didn't take very long for the idiots of the guild to come pouring through the doors of the cathedral to find Salamander and me passed out cold. I had held on to consciousness as long as possible, but after Natsu roared, he had collapsed, telling me the fight really was done. I seen a blue haze hovering over me and heard someone whisper, "It'll be okay, just rest now." I hadn't argued, just closed my eyes and let go. When I came to, I was wrapped in bandages across most of my torso that could only open one eye. My right leg was cast from toe to knee, too. That'll get annoying real fast. I had injuries like these before. I heal more quickly than most people, so sometimes the casts were more of a nuisance than a help. But it was a little late to worry about that at this point. I could always cut it off later. As soon as Flame Brain was engaged in his retelling of his fight with the lightning idiot, I slipped outside the guild hall. I was already tired of the noise, and it wasn't like they'd thank me for my part anyway. No point in sticking around. As I looked at the door, the cast already annoying me, I glimpsed a flash of light. Turning towards it, I saw one of Ivan's dolls floating near the corner of the building. Checked to make sure no one was following me and limped after it, my one crutch tucked under my arm. There was a black carriage waiting for me, and with a groan I climbed in, leaning against the window in hopes that the fresh air would help keep my motion sickness at bay. Like that ever works. I wondered how long I would be gone, but I wasn't worried about anyone missing me. Makarov might have, but he was still laid up in the infirmary. He was going to make it, thanks to the pink-haired hag, but was on bed rest until the parade, which had been postponed a day. I wouldn't take any chances of someone getting curious, so I was sure I'd be back within a day. But other than that, I had no idea where I was going. After several hours of agonizing nausea, the carriage finally rumbled to a stop in front of a lone tower. I fell out of the carriage as the door opened, causing some of my injuries to throb. As the nausea subsided, my other senses returned completely, and the place smelled of darkness and pain, much like my old guild. I pushed myself awkwardly to a standing position, pulling my crutch out of the carriage. Even the air feels depressing around here. There was a single dark doorway in front of me at the base of the tower. The building was shaped like coral, but it was as if it was made of bone. With a sigh, I thumped into the darkened hallway. "This way, boy." I heard a voice come down the hall. I walked past several closed doors, ignoring the whispered voices I heard behind them. If they were fooled by the cast and thought they could take me, it would just mean I got to have a little more fun today. I wasn't worried by the power level of anyone I could feel here. I came to some stairs and dished my crutch, throwing it down onto the floor. Luckily, I smelled Ivan on the first floor I came to and didn't have to climb any further than that. I walked down another dark hall and found him on the balcony overlooking a gruesome landscape. The trees were withered and dry. The ground cracked, but there wasn't any animals roaming around, just some ravens perched on limbs branching out of the tower. Definitely looks like bone up close. Beautiful things live short lives, heh. I leaned on a wall as I watched Ivan grab the raven he had been talking to when I walked out. He looked at it for a moment and it squawked as he turned it into one of his dolls. Isn't that so, Gajiel? He threw the doll to the ground as he glanced over his shoulder at me. I just looked back for a moment, trying to decide the best reply. You never told me Loxus was a dragon slayer. That seemed a good enough place to start. I was curious. And it wasn't information that would hurt the guild at all. Haha, he's a fake, just a fake. He turned to face me fully then. A fake? I asked. Ever since he was young, his body has been weak. Loxus? Out of pity, I put a lacryma into his body. I still at that. You used dragon slaying magic lacryma? Ivan laughed at it. And laughed again. It's rare, isn't it? Now that he's been expelled from Fairy Tale, he'll probably come here. That suits me just fine. You know, Lacrima is worth a lot of money these days, an unbelievable amount of that. I froze completely at that, a rage settling in my stomach. Lucky most of my face was covered in bandages, so he wouldn't be able to tell. Even so, I heard the shock in my voice. Are you going to take it out on him? If you do, Loxus will... The bastard interrupted me with laughter again. It's too much power for that kid to begin with. Papa will turn him back into what he used to be. I can't believe this guy. His own son. He's just money now. That's all that's needed is money to spark a war against Fairy Tale. He changed another raven into a doll and casually cast it aside, as if it hadn't just been a living creature. I schooled indifference into my face before he looked at me again. You have to continue your information just a bit longer. His face was dark with malice, and I was almost out of patience. Are you sure? If they found out I was a spy, they would force me to reveal its location. Ivan huffed out a breath. That makes no difference, I grinned at them. I grinned at him and pushed myself off the wall. Fine then, I'd best be back. They'll look for me before too long. I was dismissed with a wave as he turned to survey his gloomy territory again. I thumped back down the stairs, grabbed my crutch off the floor, and walked out of the building. The carriage was still waiting for me, and with a groan I settled in for a torturous ride back to Magnolia. Alright, the epilogue. Now it's been 32 minutes. Eesh. When the carriage finally came to a stop again, it was on the outskirts of town, near the guild hall. I stumbled out into the open air and took several deep breaths to ease my stomach. Ugh, never again, I promised myself. Took my time thumping to the guild and slipped in the door as quietly as possible. The fools were well into their celebration of our victory, and preparations were underway for the festival. I made my way to the second floor balcony to see if the old man was up and around yet. I didn't see him there, so I went to the railing to look below. Maybe I missed him when I walked through. He is awfully small. There was the salamander, bandaged top to bottom, much like myself. Juvia sat next to the stripper and the rest of that team, all of them smashing their glasses together before draining them. She seems to be fitting in well here. That's good. Poor Rain Woman deserves to have better friends than me. My gaze wandered some more and settled on a tiny blue-haired mage. Her idiot shadows were hovering, of course, one of them dressed in a stupid costume from the parade. She looks happy. Good. I studied her for a moment, trying to make sure she hadn't taken any injuries in the fighting. It'll be okay. Just rest now. My brain suddenly connected the voice I'd heard before passing out to the script mage sitting on a table below me. I trusted her enough to let my guard down. Gajiel, I jumped a little and looked over my shoulder, seeing the old man behind me. Geezer somehow snuck up on me. You want to take part in the big finale? He asked. I grunted out a response, not even wasting time thinking about it. Sorry, but I'll pass. I turned to face the master, waiting to see what he wanted. I see. Well, we managed to pull it off in the end. He started taking pieces of his ridiculous little cat costume off. Starting tomorrow, we'll have to get to work helping with the repairs to the city. Great. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the notes I managed to scribble out. Oh God, what am I? Okay, I managed to scribble out on the trip back to the hall. Master, he looked up to me and took the paper. I've uncovered Master Ivan's, your son's, current location. With a frown, he started reading what I've written. I apologize for giving you such a dangerous task, I snorted at him before replying. Now, this is nothing. He hasn't worked out yet that I'm a double agent. I started to walk away, suddenly feeling very tired. Oh, and he's after the locker room on the side of Loxus, as loud as my walking was with this stupid cast. I almost missed his growled response. As long as I have his location, I can handle that. I won't let him have his way. Nodded and walked away. See, that is how families are supposed to treat each other. Maybe these fairies aren't completely stupid. Oh, God. So, apparently that's it. You would think that there'd be some sort of sequel. But, apparently they've just decided nah. But this story was pretty good. So, yeah. Next time we have a bunch of Ruby stories, which kind of sucks, but whatever. We'll just kind of deal with it, I guess. And, yeah. We'll just kind of get there. We'll just kind of, yeah. Yeah, just kind of, all right, yeah. Wow. But we should be done.